So we're continuing this reading of Chapter 11, Life of the Buddha, the Person. And I was thinking of augmenting this reading with different readings from the suttas and so on, but this reading in and of itself is so good. So I thought I would just keep reading through. And what we ended with was the Brahmin Brahmayu sending his student to go and look at the 32 marks of the Buddha and see his conduct while moving about, while eating, while going among families, and so on. And now we continue. At one time, the Blessed One was living at Kampa on the banks of the Gagara lake. Then one midday, the householder Vijayamahita went out from Kampa to see the Blessed One. But on the way he thought, "It is not yet time to see the Blessed One. He is in retreat. And it is not yet time to see the meditative bhikkhus. They are in retreat. Suppose I went to the park belonging to the wanderers of other sects." He went there. At that time, the wanderers of other sects had met together, and they were sitting, talking all kinds of low talk, shouting with a loud, noisy clamor. Seeing the householder Vijayamahita coming in the distance, they quieted each other, saying, "Sirs, let there be no noise. Do not make noise. The householder Vijayamahita is coming, and he is a follower of the monk Gotama. If there are any white-clothed laymen living in Kampa who are followers of the monk Gotama, he is one of them. Those worthy people like little noise and are trained to make little noise, and they recommend making little noise. Perhaps, if he finds out that ours is a congregation given to little noise, he will think it one worth his while to approach." Then the wanderers were silent. The householder Vijayamahita went up to them and exchanged greetings. Then he sat down at one side. They asked him, "Householder, is it true, as it seems, that the monk Gotama disapproves of austerity and condemns and censures without qualification everyone who leads the hard life of austerity?" "That is not so, lords. The Blessed One disapproves of what should be disapproved of and recommends what should be recommended. But in doing so, he is one who speaks with discrimination. He is not one who makes one-sided utterances." Then a certain wanderer said to him, "Wait a moment, householder. This monk Gotama, whom you praise, is a nihilist, one to lead away. He does not describe anything according to what you say of him." "On the contrary, lords, I say with justification to the venerable ones that the Blessed One has described how certain things are wholesome and how certain things are unwholesome. So since he describes that, he is one who does describe something, not one who does not." When this was said, the wanderers were silent. That was from Anguttara Nikaya, Book of the Tens, Sutta 94. And now we get back to Majjhima Nikaya 36, which Bhante Ñāṇamoli relies heavily upon for talking about the different facets of the Buddha's life. Saccaka, a Niganta's son, came to dispute with the Buddha at Vesali. The Buddha described how his struggle before the enlightenment led to his discovery that mortification led nowhere. He said, "I have had experience of teaching the Dhamma to an assembly of many hundreds. Perhaps someone has fancied, the monk Gotama is preaching the Dhamma on my personal account." I've literally heard that hundreds of times. It's like you were teaching me personally. But it should not be regarded so. A perfect one preaches the Dhamma to others in order to give them knowledge. When the talk is over, then I steady my mind in myself, quiet it, bring it to singleness, and concentrate it on that same object of consciousness on which I was concentrating before. That is to be expected, since Master Gotama is accomplished and fully enlightened. But has Master Gotama ever slept during the day? In the last month of the hot season, on returning from the alms round after the meal, I have had experience of laying out my outer robe of patches folded in four and lying down on my right side, falling asleep, mindful and fully aware. Some monks and Brahmins call that a deluded man's abiding. It is not in that way that a man is either deluded or not deluded. Him I call deluded, in whom the taints that defile, that renew being, ripen in future suffering, and lead to birth, aging, and death, are unabandoned. For it is with the non-abandoning of taints that a man is deluded. Him I call undeluded, in whom these taints are abandoned. For it is with the abandoning of taints that a man is undeluded. Just as a palm tree with its crown cut off is incapable of growing, so too in a perfect one these taints are abandoned, cut off, severed at the root, made like a palm stump, done away with, and not subject to future arising. When this was said, Sachika observed, "It is wonderful, Master Gotama. It is marvelous how, when Master Gotama is attacked again and again with personal remarks, the color of his skin brightens, the color of his face clears, as happens in one who is accomplished and fully enlightened. I have had experience of engaging Purana Kassapa in argument, and then he prevaricated and diverted the talk, and even showed anger, hate, and surliness. And likewise with Wakali, Gosala, and the rest. And now, Master Gotama, we depart. We are busy and have much to do." And I've seen that with Longpor Liam as well, when there'd be issues coming up in the Sangha and somebody would go to complain to Longpor Liam, and it would seem like it would actually really, it was very tangible. It would seem like the more heavy the issue was, or the more extreme somebody was accusing somebody else of doing something really, really highly inappropriate, and it would be a seemingly unsolvable situation, and Longpor Liam would brighten, and it would seem like he would delight even more in letting go in that moment. And as the person was talking, I remember witnessing this as someone was talking to him. He was actually, Longpor Liam was getting brighter and brighter as the situation sounded heavier and heavier. It was just like, it was just like, in a way, it highlighted his sort of freedom and letting go. Sachika, however, was unconvinced and retained his own views. There is an incident which shows that the Buddha was not immune from illness. At one time, the Blessed One was living in Nigroda's park at Kapilawatu in the Sakyan country. He had only just recovered from a sickness. Then Mahanama the Sakyan went to him and said, "Lord, I have long known the Dhamma to be taught by the Blessed One thus. Knowledge is for one who is concentrated, not for one who is unconcentrated. Does concentration come first, Lord, and knowledge afterward, or knowledge first and concentration afterward?" The Venerable Ananda thought, "The Blessed One has only just recovered from a sickness, and this Sakyan, Mahanama, asks him a very profound question. Suppose I take Mahanama aside and teach him the Dhamma." He did so, and he said, "The Blessed One has declared the learner's virtue, concentration, and understanding, and he has declared the adept's virtue, concentration, and understanding. The learner's virtue is that of a bhikkhu who is virtuous, restrained with the patimokkha restraint, perfect in conduct and resort, and who, seeing fear in the slightest fault, trains by giving effect to the precepts of virtue. His concentration is that of a bhikkhu who enters upon and dwells in one of the four meditations. His understanding is that of a bhikkhu who understands it as actually is. This is suffering. This is the origin of suffering. This is the cessation of suffering. This is the way leading to the cessation of suffering." Now, in the case of the adept, the noble disciple who already has such virtue, concentration, and understanding, by realization himself with direct knowledge, here and now enters upon and dwells in the deliverance of mind and the deliverance by understanding, that are taintless because of exhaustion of taints. That's from Anguttara Nikaya, Book of the Threes, Sutta 73. I kind of wanted to know what the Buddha would say about that, actually. This is coming up from the Vinaya, and this is the Vibhanga, or to Pachittiya 92. And this is the rule about our robe size, the size of our jiwans. It's not supposed to be bigger than the Buddha's robe. And according to Ajahn Jeff, and I think it's in his either one of the appendices to Buddhist Monastic Code, or it's in one of his other books, but he estimates the Buddha was tall but not abnormally tall, that he would have been about 6'7". And so, but of course, in some of the Burmese tradition, they reckon him as 18 feet tall, and that he was 3 times the size of a normal human. So that that doesn't carry so much weight if you try to take from the suttas and things like, trading the robe with Mahakassapa, and unless he just had a super duper tiny robe from him. And there must have been sometimes things get lost in translation, or there's some phrase that got slightly mistranslated, which causes these types of traditions to start. The Buddha was of normal height. This may be presumed from the story of his exchange of robes with the elder Mahakassapa, which will be given later, and from the following incident. The occasion was this. The Blessed One was living at Savatthi in Jeta's Grove, Anathapindika's park, and at that time the Venerable Nanda, the son of the Blessed One's aunt, was there. So again, Nanda being Mahapajapati Gautami's son, so the one who raised the Buddha. So it's kind of like the Buddha's brother, even though the Buddha, he was raised by Mahapajapati Gautami, but she wasn't actually his actual mother. And so Nanda, the son of the Blessed One's aunt, was there. He was handsome, inspiring faith and confidence, and he was 4 finger breadths shorter than the Blessed One. He used to wear a robe of the same measurement as the Sublime One's robe, and when the elder bhikkhus saw the Venerable Nanda coming in the distance, they mistook him for the Blessed One, and so they rose from their seats. But when he arrived, they found out their mistake. They disapproved, and they murmured and protested. How can the Venerable Nanda wear a robe of the same measurement as the Sublime One's robe? They told the Blessed One. He rebuked the Venerable Nanda, and he made this training rule. Any bhikkhu who should wear a robe of the measurement of the Sublime One's robe commits an offense involving expiation, i.e. just confession. That's Pachittiya. The measurement of the Sublime One's robe are 9 spans long and 6 spans across of the Sublime One's span. This comes up a lot if you enter the monastery, the idea of the Sugata span, and finger breadths, and that's the way of actually measuring. And so finger breadths we do by finger breadths, if we want to know how many finger breadths something is. So Nanda was about that much shorter than the Buddha, 4 finger breadths. And the Sugata span is the span of the Buddha's elbow to fingers, but he, as we know, he had longer elbow to fingers than a normal person. If his fingers could stroke his knees when he was standing straight up without bending over, then it's probably, so the Sugata span, our estimation is it's probably slightly longer than this, and the Buddha's robe being 9 of these in length and 6 in height, which is still large. But then the robes over time have changed and things have evolved, and probably the Buddha's robe was a little bit higher than the jiwan hung, not quite as low as ours does now. Okay, this next one is from the Samyutta Nikaya, 2287. The story of the elder Wakali is appropriate here because it illustrates the Buddha's attitude to bodily presence. Thus I heard, once when the Blessed One was living at Rajagaha in the bamboo grove, the squirrel's sanctuary, the Venerable Wakali was living in a potter's house. He was afflicted, suffering, and gravely ill. He told his attendants, "Friends, go to the Blessed One and pay homage to him on my behalf with your heads at his feet and say, 'Lord, the Bhikkhu Wakali is afflicted, suffering, and gravely ill. He pays homage with his head at the Blessed One's feet,' and say this, 'Lord, it would be good if the Blessed One went to the Bhikkhu Wakali out of compassion.' 'Yes, friend,' the bhikkhus replied. They went to the Blessed One, and they gave him the message and their request. The Blessed One consented in silence. Then he dressed, and taking his bowl and outer robe, he went to the Venerable Wakali. The Venerable Wakali saw him coming and tried to get up from his bed. The Blessed One said, 'Enough, Wakali, do not get up from your bed. There are seats ready. I shall sit down there.' He sat down on one of the seats made ready. Then he said, 'I hope it goes well with you, Wakali. I hope you are comfortable, that your pains are departing, not increasing, that they seem to be getting less, not more.' 'Lord, it is not going well with me. I have no comfort. My pains are increasing, not departing. They seem to be getting more, not less.' 'I hope you have no worry and remorse, Wakali?' 'Surely, Lord, I have no little worry and remorse,' meaning I do have worry and remorse. 'I hope then that you have nothing to reproach yourself with on account of virtuous conduct.' 'I have nothing to reproach myself with on account of virtuous conduct, Lord.' 'If not, Wakali, then what is your worry and remorse about?' 'Lord, I have long wanted to come and see the Blessed One, but I have never had bodily strength enough to do so.' 'Enough, Wakali. Why do you want to see this filthy body? He who sees the Dhamma sees me. He who sees me sees the Dhamma. For it is when he sees the Dhamma that he sees me, and it is when he sees me that he sees the Dhamma. How do you conceive this, Wakali? Is material form permanent or impermanent?' And goes through the Anatta Lakkhana Sutta. The Buddha went on to repeat the discourse as he had given it to the bhikkhus of the group of 5 after the enlightenment. Now when the Blessed One had given the Venerable Wakali this instruction, he rose from his seat and went to the Vulture Peak Rock. Soon after he had gone, the Venerable Wakali told his attendants, 'Come, friends, put me on a bed and take me to the black rock on the slopes of Isigili. How can one like me think of dying in a house?' 'Yes, friend,' they replied, and they did so. The Blessed One passed the rest of that day and that night on Vulture Peak Rock. When the night was over, he addressed the bhikkhus. 'Come, bhikkhus, go to the Bhikkhu Wakali and tell him this. Friend Wakali, hear what deities have told the Blessed One. Last night 2 deities of marvelous appearance, who illuminated the whole of the Vulture Peak Rock, went to the Blessed One, and after paying homage to him, one deity said, "Lord, the Bhikkhu Wakali has his heart set on liberation." And the other deity said, "Lord, he will certainly be completely liberated." And the Blessed One tells you this, friend, "Do not be afraid, Wakali, do not be afraid. Your death will be innocent of evil. The completion of your time will be innocent of evil." "Even so, Lord," they replied. Then they went to the Venerable Wakali and told him, "Friend, hear a message from the Blessed One and from 2 deities." The Venerable Wakali told his attendants, "Come, friends, take me down from the bed, for how can one like me think of hearing the Blessed One's message sitting on a high seat?" "Yes, friend," they replied, and they did as he had asked. Then the message was given to him. He said, Now, friends, pay homage on my behalf to the Blessed One with your heads at his feet and say, Lord, the bhikkhu Wakali is afflicted, suffering, and gravely ill. He pays homage with his head at the Blessed One's feet, and he says this, Lord, I do not doubt that material form, feeling, perception, formations, and consciousness are impermanent. I have no uncertainty that what is impermanent is suffering. I have no desire or lust or affection for what is impermanent, painful, and subject to change. Of that too I have no uncertainty. Yes, friend, they replied, and they departed. Soon after they had gone, the Venerable Wakali took his own life. When the bhikkhus had gone to the Blessed One and told him the Venerable Wakali's words, he said, Let us go to the black rock on the slopes of Isigili, bhikkhus, where the clansman Wakali has taken his own life. Even so, Lord, they replied. Then the Blessed One went to the black rock on the slopes of Isigili with a number of bhikkhus. He saw from a distance the Venerable Wakali's senseless body lying on a bed, but at the same time, a smoky haze, a somber shadow, was moving to the east and to the west, and to the north and to the south, and to all the intermediate directions. Then the Blessed One said to the bhikkhus, Bhikkhus, do you see that smoky haze, that somber shadow? Yes, Lord. Bhikkhus, that is Mara the Evil One. He is searching for the clansman Wakali's consciousness. Where has the clansman Wakali's consciousness established itself? But bhikkhus, the clansman Wakali has attained final nibbana without his consciousness becoming established anywhere at all. That was from Samyutta Nikaya 22, Sutta 87. And then this next one is Digha Nikaya 26. There are several instances related in the Pitakas of bhikkhus taking their own lives. This was pronounced by the Buddha to be blameless only on one condition, that the bhikkhu was already an arhat, without lust, hate, or delusion, or would certainly become one before his death, and that the taking of his own life was subject to that condition was merely the terminating of an incurable disease. Otherwise, the taking of human life, or the recommendation of death, constitutes one of the four defeats, the four parajikas, or capital offenses, which entail permanent expulsion from the Sangha, the other three being theft, sexual intercourse, and knowingly making false claims to spiritual attainments. Though attempted suicide is a minor wrongdoing, a dukkata. The origin story for, there's an origin story for all of the rules, and the origin story for the minor rule of attempted suicide is a bhikkhu hurled himself off of a cliff and landed on somebody and killed them, and he survived. And the Buddha said, no, that's make it an offensive wrongdoing to attempt suicide. And then this is the sutta. When the human lifespan shall have increased to 80,000 years, first, a little introduction. It was related earlier how the Buddha named the 6 Buddhas that preceded him. He also named the Buddha who will next succeed him in the future, which will be after his own teaching and all memory of him have completely vanished from the world. When the human lifespan shall have increased to 80,000 years, the Blessed One Metteya, in Sanskrit Maitreya, Blessed One Metteya, accomplished and fully enlightened, will arise in the world, perfect in knowledge and conduct, sublime, a knower of the worlds, an incomparable leader of men to be tamed, a teacher of gods and humans, enlightened, blessed, just as I am now. He will himself realize with direct knowledge and declare this world with its deities, its maras, and its Brahma divinities, this generation with its monks and Brahmins, with its princes and men, just as I have done now. He will teach the Dhamma that is good in the beginning, good in the middle, and good in the end, with the meaning and the letter, and will explain the holy life that is utterly perfect and pure, just as I have done now. That's Digha Nikaya 26. And then this one's from Itivutaka 100. This was said by the Blessed One, said by the Accomplished One, so I heard. Bhikkhus, I am a Brahmin, used to liberality and open-handed. I bear my last body. I am the supreme physician. You are the children of my breast, born of my lips, born of the Dhamma, heirs in the Dhamma, not in material things. There are two kinds of gifts, the gift of material things and the gift of the Dhamma. The greater of these is the gift of the Dhamma. And then the next passage is from Majjhima Nikaya, Sutta 47. Now, bhikkhus, if others should ask a bhikkhu, what are the evidences and certainties owing to which you, Venerable Sir, say, the Blessed One is fully enlightened, the Dhamma is well proclaimed, the Sangha has entered upon the good way? Then, answering rightly, you would answer thus. Here, friends, I approached the Blessed One for the sake of hearing the Dhamma. The teacher showed me the Dhamma at each successively higher stage, at each superior level, with dark and bright counterparts. According as he did so, by arriving at direct knowledge here of a certain teaching, namely one of the 4 stages in the path of realization, among the teachings taught in the Dhamma, I reached my goal. Then I had confidence in the teacher thus. The Blessed One is fully enlightened. The Dhamma is well proclaimed. The Sangha has entered upon the good way. When anyone's faith in the Perfect One is planted and rooted and established with these evidences, these phrases and these syllables, then his faith is called supported by evidence, rooted in vision, sound, and invincible by monk or Brahmin or Mara or Brahma or anyone in the world. And the next one is an excerpt from Majjhima Nikaya 107. When Master Gautama's disciples are advised and instructed by him, do they all attain the supreme goal of Nibbana, or do some not attain it? Some do, Brahman, and some do not. Why is that, Master Gautama? Since there is Nibbana and the way leading to it, and Master Gautama as guide. Now as to that, Brahman, I shall ask you a question in return. Answer it as you like. How do you conceive this? Are you familiar with the road that leads to Rajagaha? Yes, Master Gautama, I am. How do you conceive this? Suppose a man came who wanted to go to Rajagaha, and he approached you and said, Sir, show me the road to Rajagaha. And then you told him, Now, good man, this road goes to Rajagaha. Follow it for a while, and you will see a certain village, then a certain town, then Rajagaha with its gardens and groves and lands and lakes. Then, having been thus advised and instructed by you, he took a wrong road and went on to the west. And then a second man appeared, and after asking the same question and receiving the same advice and instruction from you, he got safely to Rajagaha. Now, since there is Rajagaha and the way leading to it, and yourself as guide, why is it that of these 2 men, advised and instructed by you, one takes a wrong road and goes on to the west, and one gets safely to Rajagaha? What have I to do with that, Master Gautama? I am simply one who shows the way. So too, Brahman, there is Nibbana and the way leading to it, and myself as the guide. Yet when my disciples are advised and instructed by me, some attain Nibbana and some do not. What have I to do with that, Brahman? A perfect one is simply one who shows the way. And this next one is from Samyutta Nikaya 44, Sutta 2. Once some wanderers of other sects went to the Venerable Anuruddha. Once some of the wanderers of other sects went to the Venerable Anuruddha and asked him, "Friend Anuruddha, one who is a perfect one, highest of men, the supreme among men, one attained to the supreme attainment, when a perfect one is describing him, in which of the four following instances does he describe him? After death a perfect one is, or after death a perfect one is not, or after death a perfect one both is and is not, or after death a perfect one neither is nor is not." Friends, a perfect one in describing him describes him apart from these four instances. When this was said, they remarked, "This will be a new bhikkhu or an elder not long gone forth who is foolish and inexperienced." Then, having no confidence in the Venerable Anuruddha, and thinking him newly gone forth and foolish, they got up from their seats and went away. Then, soon after they had gone, he wondered, "If they had questioned me further, how should I have answered them, so that I might say what the Blessed One says, without misrepresenting him, and what is not fact, and might express ideas in accordance with the Dhamma, with nothing legitimately deducible from my assertions that would provide grounds for condemning me?" So he went to the Blessed One and told him about this. "How do you conceive this, Anuruddha? Is material form permanent or impermanent?" "Impermanent, Lord." And the Buddha then continued, as he had done in the second sermon preached to the bhikkhus of the group of 5, after which he asked, "How do you conceive this, Anuruddha? Do you see material form as the perfect one?" "No, Lord." "Do you see feeling, perception, formations, consciousness as the perfect one?" "No, Lord." "How do you conceive this, Anuruddha? Do you see the perfect one as in material form?" "No, Lord." "Do you see the perfect one as apart from material form?" "No, Lord." "Do you see the perfect one as in feeling, as apart from feeling, as in perception, as apart from perception, as in formations, as apart from formations, as in consciousness, as apart from consciousness?" "No, Lord." "How do you conceive this, Anuruddha? Do you see the perfect one as material form, feeling, perception, formations, and consciousness?" "No, Lord." "How do you conceive this, Anuruddha? Do you see the perfect one as having no material form, no feeling, no perception, no formations, no consciousness?" "No, Lord." "Anuruddha, when a perfect one is here and now unapprehendable by you and is now unapprehendable by you as true and established, it is fitting to say of him, friends, one who is a perfect one, highest of men, the supreme among men, one attained to the supreme attainment. When a perfect one is describing him, he describes him apart from the following 4 instances. After death, a perfect one is, or after death, a perfect one is not, or after death, a perfect one both is and is not, or after death, a perfect one neither is nor is not?" "No, Lord." Good, Anuruddha. What I describe, now as formerly, is suffering and the cessation of suffering." So that's quite, I really like that ending there, because it just gets out of the whole tangle of speculation and trying to get different views about what existence is and the nature of existence in the world, and just coming back to what I teach is suffering and the cessation of suffering. Okay, so we've got a few more passages, and then that ends this chapter. The next passage is from Majjhima Nikaya 72. "Why are these questions not answered by a perfect one? Because they all treat a perfect one after death in terms of form and the rest. Because they are asked by one who is not free from desire, love, thirst, fever, and craving for form. Because they are asked by one who relishes form, and also being and clinging and craving, and who does not know how these things cease. Such questions belong to the thicket of views, the fetter of views. They are connected with suffering, anguish, despair, and fever, and they do not lead to dispassion, fading, stilling, direct knowledge, enlightenment, nibbana. And then a short passage from Majjhima 22. One who is thus gone, Tathagata, is here and now unknowable, I say. So saying, so proclaiming, I have been baselessly, vainly, falsely, and wrongly misrepresented by certain monks and Brahmins thus. The monk Gotama is one who leads a way to annihilation, for he describes the annihilation, the loss, the non-being of an existing creature. There was also Tanchitapalo at Midnight Tea bringing up the definition in the word and phrase origin dictionary of Buddhism, that the Buddha was the definition of Buddhism, or the definition of Buddha. The Buddha was, and he's one who did these extreme austerities, eating only grass and seeds for 6 years, and then through that, what was it? It was, I should have the definition. I should read that out tomorrow. It's too hard to remember. It was, he taught a path of salvation through suffering, and the more extreme the suffering, the better. And then he attained a state called nirvana, which is complete absorption into the all-encompassing spirit. And there was something else too. It was a really funny definition. But it was definitely like the more suffering, the better. Which is kind of, you'll get a feeling for not just the Buddha when you read about his life, but of these self-mortifiers, the Nikantas and other extreme ascetics. It's kind of this idea like the more suffering, the better. And anything that goes against that idea is sort of frowned upon and seen as kind of petty and weak. There are these three types of acquisition of self: the gross, the mind-constituted, and the formless. The first has material form, consists of the four great elements, and consumes physical food. The second has form and is constituted by mind with all the limbs and lacking no faculty. The third is formless and consists in perception. I teach the Dhamma for the abandoning of acquisitions of self, in order that in you, who put the teaching into practice, defiling qualities may be abandoned and cleansing qualities increased, and that you may, by realization yourselves here and now, with direct knowledge, enter upon and abide in the fullness of understanding's perfection. If it is thought that to do that is a painful abiding, that is not so. On the contrary, by doing that there is gladness, happiness, tranquility, mindfulness, full awareness, and a pleasant abiding. The Buddha went on to say that from one rebirth to another, any one of these three kinds of acquisition of self can succeed another. That being so, it cannot be successfully argued that only one of them is true and the others are wrong. One can only say that the term for any one does not fit the other two, just as with milk from a cow, curd from milk, butter from curd, ghee from butter, and fine extract of ghee from ghee, the term of each fits only that and none of the others, yet they are not disconnected. The Buddha concluded, these are worldly usages, worldly language, worldly terms of communication, worldly descriptions, by which a perfect one communicates without misapprehending them. That's from Digha Nikaya 9. Okay, I'll leave it there, and it's 5 minutes for questions?
Ajahn, the last thing you read, I remember reading that sutta and being curious about those three types of self, because it's almost like a kind of a definition you don't see in other places. I was wondering if you had some thoughts about it, or does it correspond to other sort of like...
That's the three realms. I take it as the desire realm, the form realm, and the formless realm. And so the desire realm, which is what we're a part of, and there's the... But then you get up to above the paranimita vasavati devas, then you're out of the desire realm and you're in the... Oh wait, no. Yeah, are those just the form heavens? The nimitta, starting with the nimitta, isn't that just the form? And then higher than that is formless? Right, because then the four jhanas is the form Brahma realms. And then the formless attainments are the formless Brahma realms. And so then those are those realms of existence. So we call that the Tiloka, the triple world or the triple realm. I think the desire realm, it's all the way down to the hells and up to those highest desire heavens.
Can you map the allure, the drawback, and the escape onto suffering and the end of suffering? How do they match up with each other?
Say that again?
I've heard of teachings like that there's the allure, knowing the allure is the allure, the drawback is the drawback, and the escape is the escape. Then how do you map that onto the end, the suffering and the end of suffering? All I teach is suffering and the end of suffering.
The drawback is, the suffering is the drawback. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the gratification is that sense pleasures are actually gratifying. Mm-hmm. The drawback is they end and they cause suffering. The escape is the abandonment of desire for them. So I think that's the Buddha teaching. That there's suffering, there's also an end to suffering. He's teaching the cause and effect relationship of how suffering arises and how suffering ceases. So the Four Noble Truths is there's an arising and a ceasing of suffering, and then there's ways that happens. It arises through desire, kamatana, bhavatana, vibhavatana. It ceases through the path, through the Noble Eightfold Path. So that's how I teach suffering and the cessation of suffering. Suffering comes about through tanha, cessation comes about through magga, through the path. But you don't apply that phrase you can't just apply that phrase to anything. That's kind of what we were talking about at Midnight Tea, because then we have ways of circling around on the teachings and thus confounding ourselves. So you can't really apply what's the gratification, the danger, or the drawback of the teaching, suffering, and the ending of suffering. So the gratification and the danger and the drawback is specifically applied to pleasure, like sensuality. Because there's no danger in applying the Buddha's teachings. That's the response to seeing the gratification, danger, and drawback is applying the teachings.